I was speaking to one of our colleagues who's recently just traveled to the UAE, and they were of the opinion that they have a spouse, and the first thing they did when they arrived to the UAE was open a joint account, just to preserve whatever assets they have in the event that something happened to them. But that's not the right understanding, is it?
Well, let me put it straight.
Yeah.
Joint account is the worst thing you can do in the UAE.
How so?
Do not have a joint account, simply because a bank account is frozen upon the death of an individual. If it is a joint account, then it is still frozen. So the second account holder, if it is a spouse, in this case it will be a spouse, would have to wait for the entire probate process to be completed before the funds are made accessible.
On that note, can you walk us through exactly what happens if something, for instance, happens to me and I don't have a registered will in the UAE?
First of all, let me ask you, why don't you have a registered will?
We'll get to that later.
Okay. Well, if something happens to an individual without registering a will, that was your question, right?
Yeah.
So there are laws, of course. I mean, recently there has been a development in the UAE federal law, and also there has been a development in the courts in Abu Dhabi where they have applied a civil law system. So upon the death of an individual, the court has to call in witnesses who are known to the deceased. The court wants to understand the family tree so that they can issue the succession certificate, which establishes the number of family members that the deceased left. Right? Could be the parents, could be spouse, could be children, or could be anyone who is within the family of the deceased in terms of the Sharia law, for example.
Okay.
Now, it is at this point in time, once the family tree is established, the court would want to know, of course, if you want to apply Sharia law, you have that option. If you are a non-Muslim, you can apply the law of your home country. You can apply the law of the UAE, which gives you the option to actually split the assets between your spouse and children 50-50.
Okay.
So once the succession certificate is issued, then the court would go through the process of contacting, of course, the relevant authorities to establish the ownership of the assets that are left behind. So once the ownership is established, then the distribution takes place. Now, there are many, many nitty-gritties around this which need to be well explained. Of course, we can have a discussion on that. But this is the process that is followed, of course, in the absence of a will.
It sounds like a very cumbersome and lengthy process, just because somebody didn't have a specific document that specified exactly what they wanted.
Well, I mean, the process is complicated in terms of the succession certificate that needs to be issued.
Okay.
So because the witnesses are called, they need to establish the family tree. That in itself can take time. And we've seen instances where, it's hard to find people who can actually visit the court or who can actually attend the online hearing.
Right.
So it can put the family...
And family can be scattered in different places in the world as well.
Well, the family is not necessarily in the picture at this stage because now we're establishing the fact how many members are there in the first instance.
Okay.
So this process in itself can take time because finding a person, it could be a friend, it could be someone who's related to you, finding that person could take some time. Now we're talking about a situation where the surviving member of the family, spouse, is under distress, is under a lot of stress. And the visa situation is not clear either. You can get an extension of the visa, but you have to now deal with the day-to-day life at the same time.
Yeah.
We're not talking about just establishing the succession certificate.
While dealing with the grief.
Of course. Yeah. Now you're having to deal with the financial condition. You have to have access to funds to be able to deal with the day-to-day life. And it's all about planning that event should something happen. And we have seen instances where wives, for example, the spouses have struggled to meet ends because the person, the deceased or the husband in this case, didn't plan things well. So absence of a will delays things. It leaves the spouse in a situation where they have to get around, find people to talk to the court and give evidence and establish the family tree through a succession certificate. That step in itself can take a lot of time.